It's 4 o'clock, so I might kick things off. So welcome to the Rise webinar, brought to you by Soma and Numeric Eight. My name is Peter Ostick. I'm one of the co-creators of Soma, but my background's in media and technology, and as Trudy mentioned, I've run several businesses over the last couple of years. Before that, I was at Microsoft, so I've kind of seen the various executive and small business landscape. Our guest today, as you know, Trudy Yip, Managing Director of Numeric Eight. As Trudy mentioned, I've worked with Trudy for nearly 10 years, previously on our previous business, TVN. But yeah, grown to know Trudy very well over the years and really trust her as an advisor and a confidant. And yeah, she's been really supportive and important in our businesses today. So really good to do this together. So Gary, I've also known Gary for 10 years. It's a magic number. Gary actually taught me to meditate 10 years ago when I was actually running my previous business, TVN. So it was the teacher-student relationship, and then we became friends over time and decided that would be a good idea to build a retreat space. So yeah, Gary is a master Vedic meditation teacher, but he also works with various elite athletes in the AFL world in particular, also works with executive CEOs, but also does some work with grandmas and grandpas and everyone in between. So he has a very unique view, I guess, on the wide range of the human condition, and has seen a bit of everything, I think, over the last 20 years that he's been practicing what he's been doing. But before we dive in any further, I just want to take a moment. You know, it's the end of the day, it's Thursday, it's probably been a busy week for everybody. So I just want to take a moment to just ground and come to center. So just place your feet on the floor, feel yourself come into center, close your eyes if it feels comfortable, and just notice the flow of your breath. And sometimes it's useful to just follow the flow of your breath. So breathing in through your nose, counting in slowly to 7. Just holding and just following the breath out again. So just follow the breath and just do that take a few moments just to come to center and just feel into the connection. And just feel yourself grounded in the chair that you're in, and we'll start to dive in to the conversation. Okay, if you got anything to stretch it, and we'll begin. So again, thank you for joining the webinar. I guess as a collective over the last 20 to 24 months, there's been a lot going on, let's be honest. We've had to modify the way we live, we work, how we interact in society. For some, this period has meant a period of overwork. For some, the period has been a period of underwork, but it's potentially meant a loss of connection with people, with purpose, and even to an extent, our freedoms. For us, from a Soma perspective, mental health has been the elephant in the room during this period. And so what we want to do today is essentially shine a light on mental health through the period. And I guess look at it from the perspective, I know the majority of people on this call are small to medium business sized owners or as executives in that. So, I think we've got a unique opportunity to delve into what it actually means for individuals operating through this period as, an employer, as an employee, and we wear different hats being small business owners. So I think this is a unique opportunity to do that. I will say that we'll drive the conversation and dig into it with Trudy and Gary, and then we'll talk and dive deeper into the Soma's Rise course that we've created and launched recently, which specifically targets stress, anxiety, this idea of kind of overwhelming society, and tries to give tools and techniques that people can use on a daily basis to overcome and to rise in this period. And so with that, I will flip to Trudy. So Trudy, I just want to build a bit of a frame around the conversation. So for you personally, as I said, there's multiple hats that you wear as an individual, as a human, as a business owner, as an employer, as an employee, as an employer, and as an advisor. What has been some of the challenges for you during this period? What have you observed from your personal perspective?
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, it's quite interesting because I have to say this second lockdown has probably been more challenging than the first. I think the first, basically, we just kicked into gear and we had the luxury in between of a bit of freedom, and then going into this second lockdown, I think it was tougher because of the just the anxiety of the unknown again, like we're going back into something that we've just come out of, and we celebrated the first lot of, the fact that we made it, and then going back into it again. So the challenges is going back into, so from an employer perspective, everyone going back into working from home and working remotely, and trying to manage a team remotely is difficult in itself, but for me it's the making sure that the welfare of my team are forefront, at the end of the day, because they're delivering to our clients, and of course our clients mean absolutely well to us as well, but if I don't have my team in a safe place and their welfare and emotional state is in a good place, how can they deliver to the clients as well? So the challenge is just keeping everyone united, keeping them feeling like they're still part of a team. They're not home alone. They're not working solo. And I think it's also really easy to fall into that trap of feeling that you're working solo. When you've been working in a collaborative team space, and then leaving the office and really all you have is the phone and sitting in front of a computer all day, how can you not feel like you're working on your own and don't have the support? But as a business owner, what are we supposed to do, and how do we manage that? And of course, one of the challenges is from a business owner's perspective is we're worrying about everyone else, and so we come last. And I think that's been a challenge in itself, because I've sleepless nights. I'm still at the point of every 2 hours I'm awake, and that's just part of what it is right now. But when I know when the team is back to whatever that new norm will be, knowing that they're safe, their welfare is fine, that everything about them is fine, then I can then go back and look after myself. So and it has been, and because of this lockdown being such a long time, it's just trying to keep that momentum behind me to make sure that I can still get up and still smile at the end of the day. So,
I guess we're in like a small, medium-sized business at the best of times is, you know, it's intense. It's a roller coaster. I love the Reid Hoffman quote. I think this is more around kind of startups, but he talks about, you know, creating businesses is like jumping out of an airplane, jumping from 10,000 feet and building the airplane on the way down. You know, it's that kind of tops and term. And then when you put into the concept, everything that's happening in today's society, those ups and downs are definitely more pronounced. One question for you with your team. Obviously, there's different demographics like in your team. Have you found that it's been different for different individuals? Because I could imagine, you know, if you're you know, a single person, or if you're like a parent with a couple of kids, like the dynamic is very different, and the emotions that would come up from that would be pretty different as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely certain. And we have quite a broad range in age demographic and even geographically around Sydney, you know, with the different areas of different lockdowns and restrictions and all the rest of it. But actually what was quite interesting, and I know some of my team members are on this, so they'll probably laugh at me, but I have to say that the older demographic have, I don't know, their resilience has been amazing, you know, and they've supported the younger team members through all of this. And I just thought it was quite interesting how they just pick themselves up and keep going, you know. And I maybe that's just a parental instinct in them. I'm not sure, but certainly the younger ones have been, you know, we're all trying to be supportive of the younger ones and just making sure that their productivity, and their health is also, you know, just coincide everything, that they're doing okay. So. And I find that the younger demographic, when they were in the office, they had structure. You know, especially in our industry, right? The output, your daily output is determined by the support of the more experienced team members. So yeah, it's quite interesting that demographic. Yeah, the more resilient than others. And even the parents, I think all the parents are wanting to come back in because the homeschooling has been a challenge, you know. So what I found is that their days are longer, and that's of concern to me as well, because, you know, they're homeschooling, but then they're having to still do the normal work throughout the day. So, you know, they wake up probably earlier. They're on the computers. I can tell by their emails. They're doing some work in the morning. They're probably homeschooling a component during the day, and then they're having dinner, and then they're getting back on the computer in the evening. So all of a sudden, their day of being structured, of leaving home, dropping the children off at school, coming to work, and then picking up the children, and then having dinner as a family, and then spending the evening as a family, that whole structure has gone out the window. No, because they've only got so many hours in the day, and they're trying to fit everything in. So, you know, mentally you're just going all the time. There's no downtime with the family in the evening,
which is fatiguing in itself, because
if
there's no clear kind of like off switch, then
yes, right.
And you mentioned Trudy, the human being. So how have you found it as an individual? Have you, you know, what's been your mental state through the period, and have you had any kind of daily practice, anything that you've kind of like done for yourself through this period?
To be truthful, I've done nothing, because my forefront as I suppose as a leader is to ensure that everyone else in my team have been okay. That's been the forefront. So, and then not not just that, considering that we look after so many clients and ensuring that they're in a good state as well, because, we look after the financial aspect of organizations, and that in itself is, we're probably the first people they call upon in these sort of times. So I'm trying to weigh up not only my team, but also our clients to ensure that they're okay. So to be absolutely truthful, I look forward to everyone coming back into the office so I can get probably a break from all of this. And that's probably why and we'll go into this a bit further later on, but it's probably why I downloaded, the course from Rise, is because Gary's little snippets each time is when I read it, it makes me stop. And if it's just that 5 minutes, wow, what a difference, right? I mean, even, just stopping now, like having that 60 seconds just before we even started, Pete, that is the first time I have stopped all day since I got up this morning. So I've just, I've been on Zoom calls back to back. And sometimes when I'm on Zoom, I've got 2 screens going and I've got a phone going. So I've got 4 devices going on at the same time. And I actually just said to one of my team members here, you can tell I haven't got off my chair when all you can see is coffee cups and food plates on my table. It means I haven't even got up. So, and that's what it's been like. But, that's just part and parcel of what I do and who I am, and I'm sure a lot of business owners are the same. I have no doubt. But we look forward to having a little break soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you for that, Gary. Any observations or comments on that?
I feel exhausted just from listening. Yeah, if I was doing a coaching session with you, I would have raised a couple of points, but no, I see you're very compassionate and understanding, and you care a lot about your crew, but you have to take care of yourself first and foremost, because you can't give from an empty cup, and we want to be doing things to create self-sufficiency in those that work for us, so everyone's actually upholding each other. Like a web, all strands are vital in that, and you're kind of taking responsibility for everyone, which is what business owners do. But at the same time, you don't want that law of diminishing returns, because often when we attempt to do more and try harder, we actually achieve less, or we run ourselves down, and then we have a debt that we have to pay off later. So I guess one thing I always focus on is sustainability and doing things that are creating that balance. Because just like you're saying, just taking 60 seconds out, imagine you did that, several times a day and just recalibrated. You find it refreshes the brain, because the brain is a sprinter. It's not a marathon runner. And most people are like just using their brain constantly day and night. So we need to take these pauses where we reset our neurophysiology, and we get actually better results, and we have better time. So anyway, Rise will be a good little, good support for you.
Yeah. And so Gary, just a specific question that I just picked up on with Trudy is this, and it's definitely brought up in the Rise course as well, just this always on connectivity, which is really kind of exaggerated through this period of time where people, I've got a lot of friends who are just connected from 8 a.m. to kind of 10 p.m. at night, and some of them have families, some of them don't, but there is no off switch. So, how do you counteract that in what sort of things can you suggest for people to do to start kind of counteracting that?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it requires discipline and wisdom. So you need 2 of these things to realize that if I'm just on all the time, what does my productivity and efficiency look like? Because sometimes more actually leads to less. As an example, there was one guy I once taught, he was working, in a very demanding role in a finance company. He was a trader. He would come home, he was really stressed out, getting a lot of anxiety, wasn't sleeping well. His wife had just had twins. So he was you know, he was really running on empty. And then he was getting, you know, his symptoms were getting far worse, and he realized, okay, I've got to do something to like really take back the power from this dysfunction. And then he was introduced to meditation. He was told to do it twice a day. And he's like, that's impossible. I don't have any time. But he thought, I better, because, you know, the outlook, the trajectory is not looking so good. So anyway, he managed to carve out 20 minutes twice a day. And then he noticed that he started to have more time throughout the day. And he, how is that possible? Because it's a little bit like if you're trying to play the piano with like just 2 fingers, it's really hard, you know, to do it. But if you start to activate the other potential that's dormant in you, then you can play a beautiful symphony. So for us, we kind of normalize stress and we get in that go, go, go mode all the time, when we have to realize some of our best insights come when we're quiet, when we're still, when we're just more introspective. There's no one who creates through just being really stressed out and chaotic. And if we do, it generally is a reflection of chaos. So I think just as a gift to ourselves, we have to like find that work-life balance. You know, that was the catchphrase of about a decade or so ago, and it needs to like come back into vogue again. Because the more we do that, the more like you want to enjoy the process of creation and the process of your work. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Like Pete and I just met a friend earlier today, and he's just lost his mum. And he said, man, cherish your mother. I said, I do. And I said, and cherish this life. He goes, yeah, we really need to, because our days are running down. And not only that, like, it's not about quantity. For me, it's about quality. So I think if someone's not enjoying the process of their work, then they're not successful at all. So I would say people have to get really honest and go, is the trajectory I'm on sustainable? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? And how can I create more space so I can love my work? And that just requires some wisdom to be able to identify, oh my God, I'm out of control, or my nervous system, my mind are always like elsewhere. I don't really enjoy quality time with my kids, or I'm not present, or I'm not sleeping well, all those things. You have to recognize those signs and go, I want change. Right. That's the main thing. You got to go, I want change. And then the answers start to come. But if we never ask the question, the answers never come. You know, we're highly intelligent individuals. And it's just as we start to take that time away and we start to connect with what we truly want, then we'll find life will make way for it. But if we don't put that as a priority, we'll just get busier and busier and busier and normalize it. Yeah. Because there's no end to how much scrolling there is. It's infinite. There's no end to how much stuff you need to do in a day. It's infinite. So we have to learn to prioritize. So, you know, what Pete's done, he went through burnout, you know, and then managed to, you know, reset himself and go, okay, this is how I'm structuring my life. Me too. I was a workaholic, helping heaps of people get balanced. Meanwhile, I'm running myself down thinking this is idiotic because I should be seeing someone to help me fix the people that I'm fixing. So I had to restructure my life. And now I work intelligently. I like to work in bursts. I'll go full on, and then I need to just take rest, recalibrate, get my energy and my senses back and my full power, and then I go again. Some people don't have that luxury, so they have to do in a mini form of each day, you know. Like a friend of mine, for example, when I first met him, he's a doctor in Sydney, an integrative doctor. He sees about 250 patients a week. That's a lot. And he just visited me, and he has a friend up in this area where we live. He's also a doctor, but he's a GP, and he works every day from about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they got together the other night, and my friend used to be a workaholic, just go, 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 until he realized he was becoming unwell like his patients. So they had a discussion, and like, okay, how's your practice going? He said, yeah, it's going really well. And he said to him, but you're working like 12, 13 hours a day, and you're not looking so well. He said, well, my patients need me. And he said, okay. And he said, how much do you work? Well, he said, I start work at 11 and I finish at 6. So I schedule at least 3 hours of me time. I'll go to the gym, I'll surf, I'll play with my dog, I'll relax, I'll go here, I'll do a training session, and then I'm game on at 11. So, and he's also managed to like modify his week. So he's not doing 5 full days, he does 4, and he owns the practice. So, you know, you just have to entertain what's possible. I moved to Byron Bay from Sydney because I was just realized I needed a major lifestyle change. And I thought lifestyle's got to be the focus of my life now, nothing else. Everything else can be second. And then when I did that, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to take a major haircut with my income and my clients and all of these things. And none of it was true, actually. My income went up, my spare time tripled, and my enjoyment of life like doubled. So anything's possible. We just have to say, I want change, and we start to just implement it step by step.
Okay.
And Gary, just by you saying implement it, because, you know, so all those business owners, I'm sure we're all in the same boat where we feel like we're chasing our tail half the time. But how do you make the time, but also, like, you know, I suppose making that mind shift of making the time, but also what I find that, you know, I can sit here for 60 seconds and go, right, take a deep breath. But if it's any more than 60 seconds, I'm like, you know, like my mind's racing here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's two challenges. It's finding the time, and maybe, you know, you get to a point where you're just like, right, you've had enough. You've just got to do it.
Yeah.
But secondly, it's how do you make yourself sit for more than a minute, you know, because, you know, you say meditation and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that. I just couldn't do that.
Yeah. So I'm like the dentist in a world where no one's heard of what toothpaste or toothbrushes are. And so people come to me, I notice their teeth are just like, you know, not in great condition. And I say, what are you doing for your oral hygiene? And they'll say, nothing. What should I do? And I'll say, well, flossing and this thing called toothbrush, electric one's really good. And this toothpaste will work wonders for you. So with mental health, no one knows what to do. So we continue to do generally the things that make our teeth worse. So, and one idea is I can't meditate. That's just because of the levels of arousal in the nervous system in the brain, which makes thought predominate. And then we feel like I can't calm this storm. And so there are techniques which are designed to support in that quest to bring yourself into a centered state. So initially what we do, I divide practices into two. We have meditation, and then we have mindfulness. Or you could say meditation, breath work, yoga, and things like that. And so you have these practices which are designed to reset your system. They're not necessarily an intellectual process. It's just let go of your thinking mind, do this practice, it's going to recalibrate your system. And you make a commitment to regularly do that in the same way you make regular commitment to have a shower, to brush your teeth, to eat 3 meals a day, to get horizontal and close your eyes and sleep. Like there are these things we do to be healthy as a human being. And how healthy is it to keep the mind balanced? I'd say it's probably more important than brushing your teeth, you know, because you live in your mind all day. So we want to have a good mind, a good quality, a harmonious, coherent mind, because most people's minds are very incoherent. And that means you're not seeing life or experiencing life in a pure manner. So I would say initially you have a practice and then you have your life. You have a practice, you live your life. You have a practice, you live your life. But what you want to happen is that practice starts to infuse how you live your life, just by nature. Think of it like the practice of sleep, how that changes the quality of your waking life. And if you don't get good quality sleep, look at the quality of your waking life, it goes down. So we know how beneficial sleep is. So as you start to do these practices like meditation and breath work, and you learn to, you know, shape your system, the dynamics in a new way, you'll notice, it actually gives me more headspace. I notice I'm more patient. I'm less reactive. I don't get a coronary every time a client calls me, or I get a new email, and don't feel overwhelmed, because you start to have more resilience and a greater bandwidth. Because I was telling Pete the other day, I used to work at Channel 7, and I was working on a TV program, and I was the runner, production runner. It's where I first got my start. And I used to get stressed at the photocopying machine, trying to get the script amendments out to all the actors, having to, you know, courier them. And it was really stressful for me. And I look back and think, that's pathetic. How were you even like overwhelmed by such a task as sitting in a machine and pressing a button and just letting it photocopy? But I honestly got stressed. And now I look at what I'm capable of doing. I think, well, you know, was building Soma. I was working with a football team every fortnight, taking them to the grand final. I've got 2 kids. I'm a single dad. I've got other private clients, running courses, and I wasn't stressed. And it's only because I had practices that built up the resilience of my nervous system. So I would say what we do after we establish a practice, we start to notice we develop a mindfulness practice, which is you're just paying more attention to your life and what's going on in you each moment, and how things are flowing and what information's coming from outside, from inside, and you're learning to like stay in that flow of life. You're accessing, you know, that groove state, that flow state, you know, getting in the zone. And we can all do that. And like, it's not just for golfers or it's not just for elite athletes. For all of us, we've got to realize we've got one life, we've got one shot at this, and we've got one moment, and this is it. And this moment is the most vital and important. It's not later when I finish work or when I get to the weekend, or it's not in 3 months when this ends and we're out of lockdown. It's like, how do I love this moment? And how do I bring myself to this moment? And I feel everything has to do with just the quality of your mind, the quality of your consciousness in each moment will determine whether you love the moment or the moment kind of rattles you. So I'd say practices are
as well, Gary. You know, what you said about appreciating the moment, experiencing the moment, because I think one of the challenges that I've experienced throughout my career is that from a financial perspective with organizations, people are so focused on, you know, your quarterly numbers. Okay, you've got a quarterly number to hit. And, you know, I come from a commercial kind of sales background with Microsoft, and it was all about kind of hit the quarterly number, go, hit the number, hit the number, hit the number. And then you hit the number, and then it's like, okay, we hit the number, like start again. And, you know, the same for like product releases in the technology world. It's like, we're shipping the product, we're shipping the product, we're shipping the product, ship the product. Okay, next product. And so, yeah, it's interesting to kind of like hear when you talk about appreciating the experiences. So can you kind of like just dig into like some things that we can do practically on a daily basis to like bear witness to what is actually happening, to be present?
Yeah. Well, I think like we just have to be really honest and go, am I running to stand still? Have I bought into this idea that my life is better somewhere other than now? Because that is illusion. Because I've seen people that are miserable now, and then when they get to the end of the thing, they can still be miserable. You know, if you're miserable as someone who's got $10 in their account, having 10,000 doesn't really make you a happy person. Yet some people have adopted that idea that somewhere other than where I am is going to be bountiful. And what we want to do is reverse that and go, okay, it's not that I'm trying to arrive somewhere. We want to be in the process. We want to love the process and merge with the process. The process yields the outcome, not the other way around. If we're focused on an outcome, we're disregarding the process. It's like this expression from Lao Tzu. He was like a great sage, and he said, the best traveler is one who is not intent on arriving. And that's kind of the thing. It's like the journey, not the destination. So we have, like what we would say is process goals. Like when I'm working with elite athletes, a huge shift for one of the teams that I'm working with that's completely revolutionized their game is to not focus on the outcome, as hard as that was for them to buy into, but really commit completely with the process. Because as a sports person, as a business owner, you know what you want, you know where you want to be, but what gets you there is doing the process really, really well. So it's just a given that, you know, if you're a parent, you want happy kids. You know, it's just a given. You know, if you're someone who's running a business, you want all your staff to be happy and you want to be profitable and you want to be growing and expanding. So that will come by executing the process. And that's where the joy is. And I feel like that's where the big shift is coming now. Like people are saying it's the moment where all the value is, where all the gems are, and where all the gifts are and the lessons. Like even this time, as difficult as it's been, we're going to look back and lament that we didn't get as much out of it as we could. Like I drove through my town the other day where we live, and Byron Bay, it just gets absolutely slammed pretty much all year round by tourists. There's traffic, and it's kind of, you have to navigate. It's a difficult place. And so we've had for quite some time now, all parking spots available. You could go anywhere, and it's been on that level really peaceful. But as we were cruising through and there was heaps of traffic backing up on the freeway, and I was just kind of thinking, oh no, I've really enjoyed this quietude. You know? So I'm finding the gift where I am. And I'll also find the gift when the liveliness is there. But I think it's just learning to cherish the moment more, learning to moderate your nervous system so it can let you do that. And also being careful of what narratives you're running. Because you don't want to have this idea that it's go, 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 and it never stops, because then you start feeding that idea, and your nervous system and your body is so receptive to what your mind's doing. Any thought, any idea, any emotion is going to cause the change in the chemistry of your body. So you can literally cause, your adrenals to start going into, activation mode just by having a thought or having a worry or having an impulse of some kind on the level of your mind. So we have to start to learn to cultivate our psyche and our consciousness in a particular way. And it's a journey. It's not like it happens overnight. Yeah. It's not like if someone's really unfit that they're just going to look buff in a week. It's like there's a process to everything. A business just doesn't go from being, a startup to being, a world leader. There's a process to everything. And we've all got to think, my project is the quality of my mind, the quality of my consciousness, how I feel, body, mind, heart. That's an important thing to invest in. And I guess that's what Rise is all about, like giving people tools, because I'm aware, like a lot of the stuff I study and I know most people just don't have the time. Like I don't know how to do my taxes. I have no clue. And that's why I outsourced that. And I have no clue about so many other things. So what I did was like, okay, I meet a lot of people, cross section of society. What are the key things, the fundamental things that everyone needs to be employing to be able to help them get to a better position within and without? And kind of that's what Rise is tempting to address and to share with people. Philosophy and practices, and they're a really unique blend, I think.
I think one gift, Gary, that I can definitely see through these challenging times is the simple things in life.
Exactly.
It's just, I mean, before COVID, everyone was, running around, just getting on flights, left, right, and center, doing all that stuff, not living in their own space. I mean, I'm probably very guilty of it. We did a house renovation, and next thing I'm on a plane going overseas. And then, funny enough, I said to my husband, you know what? COVID has now made us actually sit and enjoy the house we've just renovated, and all these things, how we now, I'm sure for a lot of families with kids, is that I grew up in a family where we sat around the table and had dinner together. Every meal was together. And during this time, you hear of the families that they have dinner together and then they're doing puzzles together, and I just think they're the most simple things in life, and I think we've forgotten some of those, and it's so important, right? So I just hope that those little treasures are kept throughout.
Exactly. Yeah. I get that, being at home, having kids in lockdown, all that sort of stuff is really challenging. I've been there at different times as well. But for me, it was the best time I've actually had, I think, in my life. My kids, no stress to get to school, just like educating them in my way and just sharing like time with just nothing clashing ever. Yeah. Beautiful, immersive time. So I think there's a gift in everything, and that's one of the things that we learn to connect with, because there's also a shadow. Everything has a shadow. Light and dark coexist. And whatever we put our awareness on, we're going to experience. So You're absolutely right. The simplicity, it simplified the whole world.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
people really struggle with simplicity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the timing of all of this, and I suppose, you know, for the viewers, how this all came about is the guys have generated, have got this, well, I call it an application, but a course, and I downloaded it and I just wanted to share it. I mean, Gary, you are the guru. And the fact that I was able to take some things away from this course that you've created, and use it, you know, just of recent, use it to make me stop and think about what I'm doing and where I'm going, and allowing me to share this with all those other business owners that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and what challenges they have as an employer, but also all those people that are working for organizations where they're going 24/7 because they're working from home and they're not tuning out. I just thought this was a great opportunity to have you share what you've done with this course, because I just think it's amazing. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good segue. So maybe I can just play the intro overview to the course, and then I've also got one of the pieces of content from the course, one of the fables, which we can kind of dig into and just explore a little bit deeper what the course is all about. So I'm just gonna share my screen. Just bear with me a second. So I'm just going to play the introduction to the RISE course.
Challenging and uncertain times. For many years, I've noticed an alarming increase in the rates of stress and anxiety in our culture. The mental health challenge has only gone exponential in recent times. We've never been taught how to command our minds, which seems crazy considering our mind is absolutely fundamental to everything we do. Now more than ever, we need effective resources that empower us to rise above our conditioning and re-engineer our lives from within. Over the past 20 years, I've worked with thousands of people from all walks of life and developed the RISE course. You'll learn practical psychology and be trained in how to do vital inner work. Learn the most effective methods to neutralize stress and anxiety. Learn science-based techniques to regulate your emotions and harmonize your nervous system. Breath work, deep meditation methods, and discover how to build stability and calm into the body-mind. If you're ready to expand rather than contract, now's the time.
And we're getting ads for jiu-jitsu. So Gary, one of the things that, oh, hang on, let me stop that. Yeah, so one of the things that kind of comes through in the RISE course is the importance of a daily practice. And you mentioned it before. Can you just expand a little bit more into that, and why having the kind of rigor and the discipline around that is so important?
I reckon if you don't have a daily practice, you're dead. You know, as simple as that. I honestly think it is so vital. If you don't have one, I've never seen anyone maintain balance and be optimizing themselves without a daily practice. And I've worked with a lot of people. And I find people are just really operating in a subpar manner because they're deeply restorative. They're things which are engineered to give you more energy, discharge fatigue, stress, tension, all the weight that we carry in our bodies and in our psyche. So if you're not doing something which is, you know, purifying and expanding you, it's likely to be having the opposite effect. So I honestly think, you know, if you use the idea of oral hygiene, it's the same thing of like body, mind, consciousness hygiene. And there's techniques for that. That's why they've been, you know, extant for literally 5,000 to 10,000 years, these practices. So I think certain cultures understood that. And I believe that, our culture is buying more and more and more into that idea. You can see, and certainly the younger generation, like their value system compared to, other generations, completely different. In fact, they're not talking to one another because they value experiences rather than, income by and large, the vast majority of them.
Yeah. And how did you decide on the content structure for the RISE course? Because it has a mix of practical applications and then theory. Like, how did you decide on what goes into it and the blend there?
Yeah, it's just what I've known to be really valuable. I think if you only have a practice, but you're not like redesigning how you think, how you approach life, your internal structures, then there's going to be a lack of like momentum. And if you have a really good mindset, but you don't look after your body, your nervous system, and you don't have like practices that enhance, you'll fall short as well. So I really feel that you need a certain degree of like practice and philosophy. They're interconnected. So we worked on doing those things, theory and practice and philosophy and techniques. It seems to be a really good way. You work there on expanding the intellect, giving people really practical ways to approach situations, reframe things, re-engineer their understanding, and also you give them practical things to do as well. Like
so on the practical things, so just I've got the monkey mind as well. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have it. That kind of Trudy was alluding to earlier. From my experience, I've found when I do movement combined with the meditation, they dovetail well for why is that?
Yeah. So when we do, there's different levels. If we think of the word sadhana, but like what there is in the RISE course is sadhana. And I didn't actually use that phrase in the course at all, but it means practices which are designed to connect you with your core self. And we have practices which are movement based. So we have yoga therapy, things that activate the body. A lot of us spend, 8, 10, 12 hours sitting like this. It's not very good for our posture or our energy. Sitting in a chair is worse than having cigarettes, believe it or not. So we need to actually mobilize our bodies and start to get the energy, the intelligence flowing through it. So we have practices for that, and there's different series, and people can choose what sort of works and resonates with them. And then we have a whole series of different breathwork techniques. Again, they're very comprehensive. Then we have mindfulness techniques, which are designed to help you really connect more with the present moment, to connect with your body, your 5 senses. So there's a host of those. And then there's a meditation practice. So by doing physical movement, breath work, you prepare the body, you prepare the nervous system and the brain. So once you meditate, you've already set up everything perfectly to really dive deeply and fall deeply inside. So they're wonderful ways to, create more resiliency and adaptability in your system.
And do you recommend doing the movement before the meditation or the meditation before the movement?
Movement first.
Yeah.
Movement first. Yeah, because, the whole idea of a sadhana, like I said, is to pull you towards your core self. Mm-hmm. And not into your world, into your work and all the goals and all that stuff you want to do. Like you want to operate from your power center, from that place in you where you're grounded, you're in the moment. So when you work on the physical body, it gets the body sorted. And then you do the next layer of the breath, it gets the mind and brain sorted. So then you can really drop. If you go the other way around, you've just been punching out emails and doing stuff, and you sit to try and meditate, you're going to notice there's a lot of opposition because there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of static still in your system. So, people can choose from a suite of different practices, but it's encouraged that you go from the outside in rather than the inside out.
Okay. That totally makes sense, because I couldn't see myself straight into just being still.
It'd be hard. It'd be real hard. And I don't even bother teaching people. Like if I get a corporate gig or something, like, oh, can you teach us to meditate? I'm like, only if I can teach them to breathe first.
Yeah, right.
My job's too hard. If I'm trying to settle someone, midday or at the back end of a day, it's going to be so hard. So you calm the nervous system first, and then you can reach that deeper space.
Yeah.
And the second component to the RISE course is the knowledge sharing part of it. So understanding the nervous system, understanding kind of what's going on, but also sharing kind of ancient Vedic wisdom and various different wisdoms as well, which I think is a good segue. I have a little video which I'd love to share. I'll just share a little snippet about it, and maybe you can just comment on that. Just give me a second while I do that.
Is that appropriate? More rolling like an old man, an old guy.
I think they know the
Gotta be
audience.
thinking young, don't we?
I can't click on this.
If anybody's got any questions for Gary, you might want to just write them in, because I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them very, very soon.
Yeah, I've got to actually dive off this call in about 5 minutes, but so I'll have to leave you guys to wrap up. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions prior to that.
I'll play a little bit of this video and then we can dive off. So this is a video from the Rise course. So yeah, I'll play it and then we can just quick comment on it.
And it said that there was a member of the tribe, one of the elders, who was always known for his equanimity and amount of like buoyancy and joyfulness he carried each day, and it uplifted people. But one particular day that wasn't the case. He was sitting looking terribly troubled on the banks of a river, and his grandson, who was playing upstream, noticed him and came streaming down and looked into his eyes and said, "Grandfather, are you okay? You don't seem to be your normal self." And he looked at his grandson and he said, "No, I'm not okay." He said, "What's going on?" And he said, "There's a war raging inside me. Two wolves are fighting. One is the wolf of evil and greed and jealousy and avarice and destitution." He said, "And the other wolf he's fighting is the wolf of love, of kindness, of compassion, of gentleness." And the grandson looked at his grandfather and said, "Who's going to win?" And he said, "Whichever one I feed." And it's very much the case. As human beings, we're this field of infinite potential. This mind that we have is powerful, it's sophisticated.
About that. Gary, can you just comment on that?
Yes. It's self-explanatory, just the power of our consciousness. Whatever our mind does, our body becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reflected in how we feel and you know, just the shape of our life. So, you know, the mind has to develop this discernment, this ability to really, from within, to favor those values and those elements that bring us growth and take us forward. And most of the time we just get lazy. Just whatever enters our consciousness, we just trust it and move with it and entertain it. Yeah. Perfect. It's one of the, you know, the principles behind really capturing the power that is inherent in your mind is learning to discriminate and to discern and to invest in those things that expand rather than those things that, you know, cast a shadow.
Cool. So I might just wrap it up there. So the Rise course is available now. Trudy and Numeric Eight are going to be sending out an EDM newsletter in the next 24 hours with a specific discount code for the Rise course. So there's $50 off by following that link. It can be downloaded you can either watch it on the web browser, or you can also, what most people are doing is actually utilizing the app. So it's available on the App Store and on Android as well. So it's pretty cool. It's all there, like on your phone, so you can kind of take, as Gary said, set a daily routine around how you're doing it. It's very accessible. It's on the move, on the go.
I find that, Pete, just even the you know, the little comments that Gary makes it's just amazing. You know, I'm not one to stay still very much, but the fact that I actually have to stay still and just read Gary's comment for the day is just makes me just stop. And I tell you what, like, just it's been amazing. So thank you, Gary.
Yeah, no worries. You're welcome. Thanks for being part of it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think Gary needs to jump off. So yeah, thank you everyone for the time. Please do reach out if anyone has any questions further to this. And the Rise course also has a very cool community as part of the app. So as you're going through,
I found that, and that's amazing. Like, just people talking to each other.
Yeah, you can see everybody else on it and where they're up to. Yeah. So it's a good way to connect for everybody, and yeah, share any kind of questions or challenges that you're going through. So thanks everyone for your time, and hope you've enjoyed, and take care, and we'll hopefully see you all soon.
Thanks everyone.
See you everyone. Thanks.
Bye for now.